kids are going to head back, and we're doing the Advent candle this year. We didn't do it last year. We did it the year before. We've done it several years, and with everybody who does an Advent candle, it's all different. How many of y'all grew up where you had Advent candles in your church? Okay, and it means you could have 5 people tell what their Advent candle was like and what it represented and the colors of it and all that stuff. And every year we've done it different, so which is good for you to know that I'm actually not just recycling old sermons. I'm actually coming up with new ones. But today is the first Sunday of our Advent, and today is hope. Now, some of you may have been brought up where hope was also, or the first candle was the candle of prophecy. And of course, prophecy and hope go hand in hand, because what was the prophecy? The prophecy was there is hope. And who is hope? Well, hope is this Messiah. Well, who is the Messiah? Well, the Messiah is this person named Jesus Christ, who is going to be, he's one part of the Trinity triune God that we know and love. He was there when the Father said, "Let us make man in our image." Jesus was there. The Holy Spirit hovered over the vastness. So the Holy Spirit was there. The Father was there. The Son was there. They've always been a trio. They've always been one. They've always been three. There is no beginning. There is no end. God didn't think up Jesus whenever he realized, we're going to need to be redeemed. Before the foundations were laid in the earth, God knew that sin was going to come in and that he was going to send a Redeemer. So it's always been the plan, okay? And so that to me means that nothing catches God off guard. Nothing catches him by surprise, and I love that about him. And so when we look at all the different ways that the different beliefs about the Advent candles and the Advent wreath, there are some that say that the Advent candle actually predates Jesus' birth, that it doesn't really have anything to do with Christmas. It had to do with some of those extremely cold cultures where they just wanted to do anything to count off they needed a distraction from the cold, and so they came up with these candles to where they would light candles that would represent the passage of time. Anybody ever here lived like in Alaska or someplace like that? From what I understand, how long are the nights there? Like forever? And so I remember how many? About 20 hours. I remember watching the show, and this police officer had gone to Alaska to help solve an unsolved mystery, and he's talking to the other police officer who's a local, and he said, "Hey, look, we need to go talk to this person right now." And the guy goes, "You realize it's like 2:00 in the morning?" And the guy was like, "No," because it was the one day that it was sunny all day long. So they would do that to pass the time. Well, there's another story that kind of goes like this. And let me just read it to you so I get it right. The Advent wreath may have been invented around the 19th century. A Protestant pastor in Germany, Nadine, a pioneer in urban mission work among the poor, was the inventor, may have been the inventor of the modern day wreath. During Advent, children at the mission school that he founded, or that he taught at, every day they would come up, "Is today Christmas? Is today Christmas? Is today Christmas? Is today Christmas?" And so finally he thought, I'll fix this. So he got an old wagon wheel, and he put a series of candles in it, so there'd be white candle, white candle, white candle, white candle, white candle, red candle. It's like, okay, so look, we have to light all these candles to get to the red candle, and all these candles and get to the red. So it was just another way, because how many of you have had kids go, "Is today the day? Is today the day? Today?" Okay, so we have one of those things that hangs in our house. We don't have it up yet, but it's like every day, you either count up or count down to Christmas. That's always a big conflict at our house. Okay, are you counting down? Are you counting up? Either way, you're going from the 1st of December to the 24th of December. And so maybe that's what it was. But it makes sense. And it's anytime that we can take something that is our relationship with God, like communion, it's nice when you can touch, you can taste, you can smell what is a spiritual world. We're spiritual beings having a physical experience here. You and I are all spiritual beings, and the God that we love is a spirit, and so we worship him in spirit and in truth. And so when we look at this and we can kind of make a connection with God in a visible way, and that's really what we want to do today. So today, our first day is hope, and we're just going to spend some time talking about hope. The word hope appears in the Bible between 60 and 80 times. Anybody guess what book of the Bible the word hope appears more in than any other book of the Bible? There may be a prize. Or not, depending on what you guess. Okay, is it more likely to be in Isaiah or Psalms? Which would you think? Is it more likely to be in Isaiah or the book of Psalms? The book of Psalms, okay? Is it more likely to be in the book of Psalms or the book of Micah? Is there a book named Micah? Yeah, there is. Yeah. I thought that was right. I was going to check myself. I guess that's a giveaway. It's not Micah. Is it more likely that it's in the book of Psalms or the book of Job? Hope is mentioned more in the book of Job than any other book in the Bible. What does that tell you about what you need when everything is crashing in around you? Hope. When we were lost, everything was crashing in around us. We may not have realized everything was crashing in around us, but everything was crashing in around us. And hope is what brings us from where everything is crashing in around us to being able to survive. Because Job did what? Job survived a very, very difficult time in his life and came out of it the other side. So the word hope appears many times in the Bible, but the most in the book of Job, and I just think that's almost funny. The word sometimes is tigva, and means expectation, the thing that I long for. And in Isaiah chapter 40, is this working? Is that little thing in there? It's in. Well, it would help if I turn this on. Hold on. Boom. Pow. There we go. Isaiah 40, verse 30. But those who hope or wait in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. So this is one of those times where it's talking about an expectation. Not just, man, I really hope we eat lunch today. I'm pretty sure I'm going to eat lunch today, but I hope the Titans can make it to the playoffs. Well, that's nice, yeah. But it's not. We're not talking about wishful thinking. Hope is much bigger than that. Hope is I can hang my hat on this. This is the expectation that I have that is powerful and is going to get me through when things I see may not line up with the things that I hope for. And so Isaiah was saying, but those who hope or wait with expectation in the Lord will renew their strength. And don't you think this is interesting that he doesn't say they'll walk and not faint, they'll run and not grow weary, they'll soar like eagles and will not tire. He starts with the soaring and goes to the, he goes from the thing that we would think is the most strenuous down to the thing that is least strenuous. But how many of y'all know walking day to day in faith, it can be pretty strenuous? Actually, when you think about an eagle or a hawk, Sally and I got to see one on our way to Clarksville yesterday. What do they spend a lot of their time doing when they're way up there? Flapping their wings or just gliding? I just think it's kind of cool that the closer we draw to the Lord, the more of His presence we feel, the more He just kind of keeps us flying up there. And I'm not saying it's no work at all to walk close with the Lord. I just think the closer we walk with the Lord, the more we realize He's just up under me, just lifting me up. Being filled with the Holy Spirit doesn't mean you take a cup and you pour the Holy Spirit in. That idea is like a sail is filled with air. It's a constant flow. And what happens when the sail is filled with air? What does it do to the boat? It moves it. And so that's kind of cool. So I don't mean to get distracted by that, but that's the way it is. So then we go over into the New Testament. Matthew's going to use this word, elpizio, and I'm sorry John's not here, but at the same time, I'm glad John's not here because John actually knows Greek, Hebrew, and 5 other languages, and we'll begin to talk to Nadine in German if he was here, so I can mispronounce words since he's not here. Elpizio, when he restates Isaiah's prophecy about Jesus. So let's look at Isaiah's prophecy about Jesus reported by Matthew as Jesus begins to say this. So aware of this, Jesus withdrew from that place. A large crowd followed him, and he healed all who were ill. He warned them not to tell others about him. This was to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet Isaiah. And here's what was spoken through the prophet Isaiah. Here is my servant, whom I have chosen, the one I love, in whom I delight. I will put my spirit on him, and he will proclaim justice to the nations. Now, I just want to stop there for just a second. I don't think that God just feels about Jesus that way. I really think God feels that way about you and about me. So let that soak in for just a minute. When God looks at you, when he speaks of you, when he mentions you to his friends, he says, the one I've chosen, the one I love, the one I delight in, the one I put my spirit on. Okay? So, but then he goes on. He will not quarrel or cry out, nor will he hear his voice. Hear his voice in the streets. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out, till he has brought justice through to victory. In his name, the nations will put their hope. So it tells us about Jesus, and what do we see about Jesus? We absolutely see this this lamb that's led to the slaughter silently. We do see Jesus. He didn't come into the world smashing things. Now I know that he did that in the house, in the temple 2 times. He cleansed the temple, and I've talked a little bit about that. Let me just sidestep. How many of y'all know that when Jesus cleansed the temple, it wasn't because they were having a bake sale? Okay, I know sometimes it's like, well, you can't do anything in the church because that, Jesus ran people out. Here's what was happening though. One time a year, you were going to bring your sacrifice. You brought your lamb that you had brought into your house. You'd named it. You'd taken care of it. You knew that was going to be your sacrifice. You bring it to the temple, and then there was some guy at the temple who goes, sorry, your lamb is no good. You need to get one of the pre-approved priestly lambs. Well, okay. How much are those? Well, they're twice as much as you have invested in your lamb. But you have no choice. And so then they would go to that booth and they'd say, okay, apparently I need to buy one of your lambs. And they'd say, okay, well, and he'd tell them the price, and it was exorbitant. But then he would pull out his money and they'd go, oh no, I'm sorry, we can't take your money. We can only take temple money. So you need to go to the next booth and you need to exchange your money for temple money because we can't touch your money. And so you go to the next guy and you pull out your money, and the guy goes, okay, but it's a 2-to-1 ratio here. So you're going to have to give me twice as much as I'm going to give you because, hey, our money's holy. You see, so if you or I, how many of you would go, man, I'm not doing this worship thing, this sacrificial thing. It costs way too much. I mean, all these people that isn't good enough, and then they're robbing me, and then on top of that, they're robbing me again. You can see why Jesus was upset with what was going on in the court of the Gentiles, which as it was at that time as close as a Gentile, which is most of us, could have ever gotten to the Holy of Holies, and they had turned it into it had become something nobody wanted to do. It was hurting the cause of the Lord. And I think there are times we run into churches that they're doing the same thing. They're like making it harder for people to get closer to the Holy of Holies instead of easier to get close to the Holy of Holies. So all this is going on. Jesus has come into the world. He's not bruised a reed. He's done all this stuff. He doesn't snuff out a smoldering wick till he brought justice through to victory. Now we do know that when Jesus comes back, how is he coming back? He's coming back as the conqueror. And guess who gets to ride alongside of him? We do. I'm looking forward to that. It's like, why do guys think it's so cool to go up and beat something? I think it's because God's pre-programmed us for when we get to do that with him, and it's